in COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on testing sites, isolation space, vaccines, housing assistance, and food resources. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19 or has questions to determine if you should get tested, please call them at 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 24, then sunny but cold on Wednesday with a high of 36. The Great Wall Restaurant has been providing an authentic taste of Chinese cuisine since 1981, specializing in Sichuan and Peking dishes. The Great Wall is located on the Minneapolis-Edina City line on France Avenue, just blocks north of 50th Street near 45th and Sunnyside. Check out their menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut it.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanjahade. My name is Distant Thunder. My colonized name is Robert Pilot. That's also my taxpayer name. And we discuss on Native Roots Radio Native issues across all over Turtle Island and local in the Twin Cities, Chicago, and Madison. As we all know, Wendy, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. You can call them at 651-304-9986, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and on Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Hey, before we get going, there's two things I wanted to bring up kind of on a serious note. One is I want to throw a shout out to my Mary Pilot, my adopted mother, who would have been 95 yesterday.
Happy birthday, Mary.
She was awesome. Yes.
Awesome.
Smarter than a whip.
Yes.
Smarter than a whip. She was no fun to fight with. She was too smart. And then also I want to just throw some good thoughts over to Bill, who is interim director at a school that I work with, and I just won't get too far into that, but I just wanted to mention him, that he's in our prayers and thoughts, and we need to put tobacco down in a good way for him. So without any further ado, why don't we get with Ogama in the news. Welcome, Ogama.
Hey, Anim Bonjour, everybody. This is Ogama with Native Roots Radio. I, of course, always want to start with some Stop Line 3 event updates and news. Happening now is Salsa at Sunset, Tuesdays for the Water to Stop Line 3 in Park Rapids, Minnesota. That does happen every Tuesday, and I believe they have some pretty awesome food. Come and bring signs and show up and dance. That's a really great event. Coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m., right? Tomorrow's Wednesday? Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Tomorrow, 10 to 12, is the March to Stop Line 3 in Duluth. That is a joint effort between the Twin Ports DSA Eco-Socialists, Honor the Earth, and others. They will be speaking out against Line 3 and specifically against Wells Fargo's ongoing funding of the project. They're gathering at Endian Station and then marching to Wells Fargo. So that is an awesome one. And then just make sure you guys stay on the sidewalks and obey all traffic signs, and social distance is added. Stop Line 3 Caravan Tour is also happening tomorrow. They're meeting at 11:30 a.m. at Camp Manoomin, just outside of Bagley, Manoomin Protection Camp, to get signs and directions. And then they expect everybody to be departing for home at about 3 p.m. Make sure you check out the event Stop Line 3 Caravan Tour to get more tips and information on that one. And then coming up also tonight at 7 p.m., just after the show ends, the Minnesota Senate DFL is having a virtual town hall in rural Minnesota, and Senators Kent Ecken, Nick Fritz, and Aaron Murphy are going to be discussing issues and priorities of rural communities across the state. You do have to RSVP to that link. Or, I'm sorry, you do have to RSVP to get the link for that one, but that does happen right after the show. And you can submit questions ahead of time. So make sure you check out the Senate DFL Rural Town Hall event on Facebook and other social media to get involved with that. We really need to make sure that our voices are heard all across rural Minnesota, all across Indian country, right, Robert?
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very important.
Yeah, everybody has a voice, and you could use it and talk to your legislators and senators, get stuff done.
Exactly. So I also wanted to touch base on what happened last Thursday. So Hubbard County and Beltrami County Police arrested 26 people last Thursday, 7 of which were sitting inside a traditional Ojibwe praying structure, and the majority of the rest of them were standing outside with their arms locked around the structure. The majority of those people were female. Um, and the group was eventually kennelled, strip searched, shackled, and held overnight on misdemeanor charges, according to Tara Hauska. She wrote that she was in the middle of praying with a rattle in her hand, and they took the rattle out of her hand and arrested her in that process. So they arrested people who were praying and charged them with trespassing and unlawful assembly. And that was according to a release by the Northern Lights Task Force. So if you all are
Mhm.
not familiar with what's happening with the Northern Lights Task Force, make sure you plug that into your Google search and find out which if your county is one of the ones that's supplying people to run this task force, which is primarily funded by Enbridge. And it's a group of sheriff departments that were joined together specifically to combat and deter pipeline protesters.
Oh
So
boy.
yeah,
Really, what a violation of your human body to be searched for a misdemeanor. I mean, how disgusting is that?
It's all about
It
intimidation up
really
there.
is so disgusting.
Yeah.
it absolutely is. So I'm gonna, kind of talk about the elephant in the room here. I know I didn't talk about it yesterday because so many people are already following this, but today was the second day of the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin.
Wow.
There was a lot of emotional witness testimony today, which was compounded by the day one showing of the video of Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes until he became unresponsive and died. This is the first trial in Minnesota to ever be aired on television, and actually 4 witnesses will not appear on camera or have any audio from their testimony aired at the request of the prosecuting attorney. My understanding is that because some of these witnesses were not 18 at the time. One of them, who did just recently turn 18, Darnella Frazier, was a witness, and she told the jury today that she'd been awake for many nights, apologizing for not intervening to save Floyd. But also, that's not what she could or should have done. It's what Chauvin should have done. And she also said that when she sees the video of Floyd's death, she thinks of her family, her father and brothers and cousins, all of whom are Black men, and she believes any one of them could have been in the same situation as George Floyd. And I think that is probably the part today that got to me. It really got to me.
Yeah,
I can't watch it. I just can't. It just gets to my soul, and it frustrates me when I hear, the defense. It just boils my blood, actually. So
yeah. How can they? They have to. How can they defend this, Wendy and Olgama?
Yeah, that's my question as well. I mean, the defense initially in the opening day basically said that they believe that the jury would find that Chauvin was acting exactly as he should have as a police officer. And I'm going, if that's what they're trained to do as police officers, we have a large, and this is really what it is. It's all part of a larger systemic issue. And, it's heavy on everybody's hearts. And I know that people in the Twin Cities right now are, nervous. And I just send my prayers out for Floyd's family and for all the family of everybody who's been murdered or injured by police going, back how many hundreds of years now. I mean, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
brown and Black
terrible.
people with these cameras and cell phones. I mean, this has been going on way too long. I mean, this should have been taken care of with Rodney King when he was videotaped from somebody who's picked up a camera, and that was the early '90s. So this is sickening, ridiculous, and I hope good things happen when it comes to doing this. This is not right.
Do you remember the night after it happened, Todd, my stepbrother, who was a canine officer down in Florida in Miami-Dade County, very rough area, and he called me and said, "Listen, please stick together, Wendy, and I stick by my brother no matter what, but this, no way. This was unforgivable. This is, he was just appalled about what Chauvin did."
Exactly. Yeah, and so we're going to stay on top of that. We're here. There is a dark cloud, even though it's sunny over the Twin Cities area, St. Paul, Minneapolis, not Plymouth or the suburbs of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Just want to be clear about that. So, hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're going to get updates from Nancy Beaulieu of Bimi'ji 350 of Occupied North. We'll be right back.
We have vital information we would like to share with you. The Department of Indian Works St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on testing sites, isolation space, vaccines, housing assistance, and food resources. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19 or has questions to determine if you should get tested, please call them at 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. You can call them at 651-304-9986, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And they are also open on Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Wow, perfect, Wendy. So it's Tuesday, and yesterday we had the opportunity to talk to Winona LaDuke about what's happening in the occupied North, basically. And so we're always really happy to work with Nancy Beaulieu, Bimi'ji 350,
Absolutely.
Rise Coalition, and then former co-host of that great award-winning show, Rock the Boat Native Style. Welcome, Nancy Beaulieu.
Well, thanks for having me, Robert. And it's I'm Nancy Beaulieu, Minnesota 350, the Northern Organizer for Rise Coalition, and I'm here in northern Minnesota on the Leech Lake Reservation, and big change in weather today, so bundle up, folks, and stay warm out there. And I just want to share that we had some inspiring guests here at the White Earth Monoman Protector Camp last Friday, and there were some of our youth out of Standing Rock, Cheyenne River area, and they came to stand in solidarity because all pipelines are bad, and we're the build back to fossil free. So our messaging to Biden has came in solidarity with the Line 3 resistance. So they were here to pick up Silas Nealon from the White Earth Reservation, a youth. So I'm very proud. A shout out to all those youth out there, near DC or in DC. April 1st. So they are going to make a stand for our water, and they're going to be our guests a little bit later on in the show. They're having a little minor difficulty signing in at the moment. So anyways, we stood with them in solidarity. It was a beautiful prayer at the Mississippi River where they plan to drill under the Mississippi here on our side of the Great River Road, just opposite of the Palisade Protector Camp over there. And then this weekend, Duluth, we saw a march and, some banner drops. And then tomorrow there'll be a caravan hosted by Minnesota 350. And again, we'll see our beautiful allies in White Earth tomorrow at the Monoman Protector Camp. And that starts at 11:30 a.m. And I just want to, share that hope that I think some of us are hanging on to, Robert, as well. When we've seen the hearing on the Line 3 just recently here, and some of the questions that were asked by the judges. But what we have to understand too is that, there's still work going on. And Enbridge has just recently announced that they're halfway done with the construction project. And between April and through the end of May, April 1st, end of May, some of the construction will cease for a short bit till spring thaw. And those are mainly the river crossing areas where they have to do the horizontal drill. But the work still continues, at the pumping stations. And so a big shout out to the Ginyu Collective and the 27 water protectors that held prayer space last Thursday. And so I'm asking people to, follow, these camps and these all this great work that's happening on the front line, and find ways how you can show up.
Exactly. Hey, we talked a little bit about this. Can you talk a little bit about Tara Hauska had prayer items in her hands that were taking away from her in touch. Can you tell our audience a little bit about the significance in that?
Well, these prayers are part of our who we are, and they're sacred moments in the spaces that we hold, and it's calling on our ancestors and just praying for the right things that need to happen, and it's a way to hold space in the most peaceful way. And that's exactly what they were doing. They were holding space, and it got pretty violent when these pieces were ripped out of their hands and they cut up on the prayer lodge, and then they took selfies. This is an insult on, this is blatant racism along this corridor. And it's really sad that we have to face this type of oppression from our peace officers, to protect and serve the communities they are hired in. And yet this is what Enbridge is allowed to do, is our peace officers use them as a tool to further oppress us and hold us back and criminalize us for exercising, our right to our religious freedom. And that's exactly what's going on here. And it's not what we can. This should never be allowed. This should be condoned. And I think when this kind of stuff happens, I'd like to hear from some more of our elected officials to help make that call, for the protection of our prayer spaces. We need people to step up.
We do. Go ahead.
I just want to pop in too, on the note that they cut apart that prayer lodge. I mean, it's something that's, it's constructed of the earth, and it's not anchored into the earth in any way. It's sitting on top of the earth. They could have just as easily lifted it up. They did not have to cut it apart or dismantle it in any way to be able to remove it from the scene. And I think that is what really hurt my heart, is that they took action to deliberately destroy something they did not need to. The same thing that they would attempt to arrest people for, for destruction of property. It's the same thing, except they destroyed what is essentially a church.
Right, and exactly, and Nancy, we'll go back just a short ways to Standing Rock, and what happened there. We were peaceful protesters. We were in prayer, and we got bombarded by bad news, bad rubber bullets, bad water cannons, and all these things. And I see this as kind of a kind of that way too.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
Right.
when we talk about when we talk about Enbridge Police, we're really talking about our police department being bought up by Enbridge, right?
Right. When we were just on, up the Mississippi Bridge, I don't know, about 6 weeks ago, we had one of the private owners upset that we were there praying and, peacefully gathering like we do. And he decided to show a little bit of aggression by showing up and harassing us and accusing us of trespassing and blocking traffic. Neither of those things were true at all, but the idea that the police came down and asked us if we could move off to the side into the ditch, everything would be okay. And that was actually an insult, because again, we're told to, go ahead, you can pray all you want, you can do, bring your beautiful signs and hold space, but move out of the way and everything will be okay. We're not going to do that no more, Robert. That's how we got where we're at in this day and age, and that's 1855 treaty land. And if I want to walk down the middle of the road in a peaceful way, if there's no cars coming this way, no cars coming that way, I'm going to walk down the middle of the road and I'm going to pray and I'm going to sing and dance. And there ain't going to be no private landowner nor any commissioners or any sheriff's department that says, hey, go in the ditch and everything will be okay. It's like, that Indian problem thing, just put them to the side. And, I think what we've seen in Clearwater County was a little different than what we've seen in Palisade, and that was when the removal of those parking signs up here on our end. But we don't know where it's going to bring us. But what we do know, that we're always going to show up, regardless of how.
Oops,
she got frozen.
It got frozen there. Wow. I just, again, until Nancy comes
much
back,
law enforcement they bring, and how
she's coming and going.
I think we're all back.
Okay, there you go.
And I see our guests have joined us. Yay.
Yeah, you were frozen there for a minute, Nance, but welcome back. And we got a couple minutes, and why don't you quickly introduce them, and then we're going to go for a break here in about a minute.
All right, we got Danny White Eyes. He's from Cheyenne River, and he is one of our youth runners, and he's along with Anna Yellow. My memory's sure not working right.
Yellowhammer.
Yeah, Yellowhammer. And so she's from Standing Rock, and these guys are actually en route. They might even be there. They're
Yeah. Hey, are you guys? Can you tell us where we're at? Where you guys are at right now? And we're gonna
going to
go
give us an
for a quick
update today.
Where are you?
We're in Washington, D.C. currently for the next.
Nice. So you're in a nice hotel there, and you're getting you ready to do this action, correct?
Yes.
Yes, this action is actually against the Biden administration and Biden himself. Just because back in 2015, Obama actually sent an executive order not allowing KXL to go through. And this time around, there's been another KXL Part 2 coming up that Biden recently has put an executive order to stop it. But actually in South Dakota, our governor, Kristi Noem, is actually trying to push through a House Bill 1194, which rejects presidential executive orders and allows the state to push through
All right.
with building a pipeline.
We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to get really deep into this. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back. Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
The pandemic has all of us spending more time in our homes. This has led to a serious reduction in indoor air quality in many homes. Let AirSeal Tech improve your indoor air quality and make your home warmer and more comfortable while enjoying energy savings with their home performance upgrades. Call AirSeal Tech at 612-888-3664 and visit their website, airseal.tech, to get their free home performance guide to learn how your home should work as a system. That's AirSeal Tech. They bring comfort home.
Hi, I'm Alicia Luther-Toms, Certified Financial Planner with RBC Wealth Management. You might think you have to give up performance to invest responsibly, but that simply isn't true. Responsible investing can actually have a positive impact on performance. We will work with you to come up with a strategy that matches your values. This is Alicia Luther-Toms at 612-770-4460 or alicia.luther.toms@rbc.com.
RBC Wealth Management, a division of RBC Capital Markets, LLC, member NYSE FINRA SIPC.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
You've heard the screamers, you've heard the shouters. Well, now it's time to listen to a real conversation. Now it's time for the Rick Unger Show.
Weeknights from 8 to 10 p.m. on AM 950.
When you're trying to stay safe, you want the best protection possible. And when it comes to PPE, that means Lutema. Made in the USA with the highest quality materials, Lutema has mask sizes for all. Lutema masks pass ASTM Level 3 and NIOSH efficiency standards and come in a wide variety of colors and types, including M95i. Get your American-made face mask at Lutema.com. That's Lutema.com. And get 40% off your first purchase single item with promo code RADIO at Lutema.com.
If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.org. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
I love every Toyota I've ever driven, but I won't just go to any dealership. Rudy Luther Toyota is the absolute best place to buy your next Toyota. That's not just me saying that. Rudy Luther Toyota was just named the Dealer Rater 2021 Minnesota Toyota Dealer of the Year, and they received the Dealer Rater 2021 Consumer Satisfaction Award. It's not just great vehicles, it's the service which makes Rudy Luther Toyota the cherry on top of your car purchase Sunday. Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Clulia. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 24, then sunny but cold on Wednesday with a high of 36. The Great Wall Restaurant has been providing an authentic taste of Chinese cuisine since 1981, specializing in Sichuan and Peking dishes. The Great Wall is located on the Minneapolis-Edina City line on France Avenue, just blocks north of 50th Street near 45th and Sunnyside. Check out their menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Yes, it does. Hey, we're here with Nancy Beaulieu and her guest. Nancy Beaulieu is Bimi'ji 350 and Rise Coalition. Welcome back, Nancy, and your awesome youth guest. That's take it away.
Right, and I just want to start off by saying that our indigenous communities have been forced to bear the burden of society's addiction to fossil fuels and the devastating impacts to our land, sky, and water. And it's time to honor our treaties that have been ignored, and we need to do that by shutting down Line 3 and the Dakota Access Pipeline. And this is why, we have our youth frontliners such as Anna Lee Yellowhammer and Danny White Eyes, our guests today, to tell us a little bit more about that. And welcome back, guys.
Hello, my name is Danny.
Hello, my name is Anna Lee Yellowhammer.
Okay, so one of the purposes why we are here in DC is to actually make some noise. Of course, that Indigenous people are still here, in fact, and also to shut down and stop the Dakota Access Pipeline from running through because I believe that they don't have the right permits to be doing so. And also to stop Line 3. Line 3 isn't constructed yet. And I know like a couple of weeks ago, he had mentioned either you shut down Dakota Access Pipeline or you stop Line 3, like pick either or, but that's not the case here. Right. We're trying to build a good, nations to nations thing here going on in a good way, but it's starting off kind of hectic, and we're tired of the treaties being broken and like pushed aside, Native Americans just being brushed under the rug, not being consulted in anything. But we have to remind ourselves that consulting with Indigenous nations does not give consent and allow these pipelines to go through near or right against our treaty territories. And the environmental injustice that goes along with it is the environmental racism that impacts a lot of our Indigenous communities, and also, mainly our Indigenous communities. But I know Anna Lee can talk to you more about the Dakota Access Pipeline.
Hi, my name is Anna Lee Yellowhammer. I am the Vice President of the Standing Rock Youth Council. With the new presidential administration, we're just trying to bring awareness to shut down Node Apple, because it has been 5 years since we've asked the President Obama to. And I just believe that enough is enough, because this pipeline was originally supposed to be rerouted in Bismarck, North Dakota and Mandan, North Dakota, where there's a lot of, I don't know how to say this without sounding like racist, but a lot of non-Indigenous people live. But right. They thought it wasn't safe for their community and their water intake, so they put it down where we live on the Stein Rock Reservation, which I have believed that is environmental racism, because who's to say our life isn't expandable as others? Like, who's to say, like, who has the right to even do that to Native natives, but I don't know.
No, that's we wouldn't have this radio show if it wasn't for Standing Rock and all the misinformation that was happening. Wendy and I and our little puppies went to Standing Rock during that. Obama could have ended it at any time. So we hear you, and this is the basis of we're still awake here on Native Roots Radio, and it's good to see you young warriors still doing it and still taking care of the water, right, Nancy?
Right. And, I'm just kind of curious, what are some of the things that are in spaces you guys will be holding while you're in the DC area, and how can we support that here from far away?
Okay, so I know we're not allowed to say too much, but what folks can do at home, I know our tomorrow night we actually have a visual of a lighting on a building. And folks back home, if you want to engage and support the movement here that's happening on the 1st, you can go to your local leadership, whether it be your tribal chairmen or even your city mayors. Go to your local headquarters of the leadership that's there, and just ask the same thing. Stand with Standing Rock, stand with no Line 3, stand with no KXL still, because Christy Gnomes, she's not giving up that easy back home in South Dakota. But just to stand up and rise together, you can flood Facebook, flood Twitter, flood Instagram, flood TikTok with, no DAPA, with no Line 3, build back fossil free and fossil fuels. Just like stuff like that, you can involve yourself back home. It's not just open to people that can't make it here, but if you want to be involved, that's a good way to actually do that. And of course, keep sharing. I know IEN will be going live and share a lot of stuff on there. The Shine Rivers Grassroots Collective will be also live on Facebook. You can, reshare all this information, all this media.
And the Standing Rock Youth Council page as well is doing the live feeds as well, keeping everyone posted and updated.
Wow, that's awesome, Wendy.
Yeah, do you mind telling us how old you guys are?
I'm 29. I'm actually when I started we actually ran here to DC back in 2016 to hand deliver the petition, and right now, so I'm evolved into that mentor leadership. But
right on.
I am 17 years old. I was, what was this, 5 years ago? So I was 12, 13 when this all started, and it was my petition that we hand delivered to the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yes. I read your interesting story. Yes, and I'm so honored to hold this space with you. And I think the more knowledge we know about, you guys, it really, really, inspires even people like myself to, follow you guys, because I knew about Standing Rock, but the more I'm hanging out with you guys in virtual spaces or in camp like we did last week, I'm researching a little bit, and I'm impressed, and you guys just continue to inspire people. So miigwech for doing the work that you do.
Of course. And also we want to remind people that it's not just the indigenous people's fight. It's everyone's fight around the world. It's not even just the people's fight. It's all walks and all nations all around the Winged Nation, the Four-Legged, the Guild Nation, every single nation living in this earth. We remember, it's not just about us. We can't live without each other. That bringing that balance back to the whole world, that like what happened in Standing Rock, it brought the whole world to one spot. So now we got to take that one spot back to the whole world. So that way we can welcome people, all walks of life. We can welcome back to the circle and live the way, the natural law of the land.
Right. We're all indigenous somewhere, right?
Yes, we're indigenous somewhere.
Right. And and I think that is our treaty obligation. Us, it's a responsibility as Native people to leave the earth in the better way than we found it. And under our treaties with our allies, the non-Native people, is to leave the earth in a better place as they found it as well, and I think the more we educate people on our responsibility to be good to the earth and their obligation under the treaties, that we can find a good way to hold spaces together. And I think you make a good point of that, Danny. So my question is, I was just thinking to see if someone had a response. Just listening to you guys, I want to know, what actually really inspires you, and how do you find it in your busy lives to keep that fire lit and keep moving? Because I know sometimes it can be a challenge, but I could see that fire in the space you guys hold. And how do you do that so others can do it?
Yeah. What keeps me going and inspired to do this is for the most part, my family, because my family is my family and they mean everything to me, but also for my people too as well, back home on Standing Rock Reservation and Cheyenne River too, because they have been with us and stood with us as well since the beginning of all this. But I don't know, I just think because it goes through Cannonball, and that's originally where my grandfather is from, and he's the only grandpa I grew up with on my mom's side, so that's also what kept me going and doing this as well. Because he grew up around the river. That's where he was. That was his place, him and his friends. And his friends tell me that too as well. So every time they talk to me, I get a little emotional about it because my grandpa passed away from a heart attack, and that really had a big impact on my life. So that's what keeps me going and wanting to do this, because I know that he would be proud of me.
Wow.
We're all proud of you. One thing I want to ask real quick is I know the story pretty well, and Obama was there in 2015 and told us not to worry about any pipelines going through a native land, and it took him so long to do anything. And so it gives us a lot of mistrust because I mean we had 10,000 former military people standing right before he did anything. How do you feel we can really move forward with this new president and this new administration?
Well, personally, Biden was his VP when Obama was in office.
Right.
So this it's like really personal because he was part of Obama's administration at the time. And now he has a really, he can come off at a really good deal with us by saying, hey, actually, we're going to end these two pipelines, just because he was part of that promise that Obama had made. Rather, if Biden didn't want to promise that, I didn't use those words, but he was part of that administration. So to hold him accountable with those words, it's just like one of those things, like a promise, kind of like a treaty, like, you're making these promises to each other. But now the differences between what happened back then and now is we're asking him to follow those footsteps of that administration he was with. So it's kind of just
thank you so much for being on. Really good luck. And we're going to be looking and sharing your posts out there. It's so great to have great warriors like you two, and all the other Native youth that are out in DC doing it all for us. And we really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
Thank you. Yeah, and thanks for being here tonight.
All right, Pini-Gigi, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be back right after this short break. Stay with us. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pini-Gigi, and thank you for your support.
We have vital information we would like to share with you. The Department of Indian Works St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on testing sites, isolation space, vaccines, housing assistance, and food resources. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19 or has questions to determine if you should get tested, please call them at 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
Right now, bees need a friend. You can be that friend while lightening your workload. Minnehaha Falls Landscaping can help you create happy places for bees and butterflies in your yard. We're reinventing lawns to be safe for pollinators with no-mow grass and blooming ground cover flowers that feed bees all season without any pesticides or synthetic fertilizers. Together, we can protect over 80 species of native bees in your yard. Visit MinnehahaFallsLandscape.com to get started. That's MinnehahaFallsLandscape.com.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
We are the Aleutian Nation.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
That's right.
There you
And we
go.
heard Ogumon clean feed.
It's like a little delay there.
Oh, there she was. She just popped up.
delay.
Oh, there she is. Hey, so I just want to go over, before we go into our sacred portion here, I want to lead you into it. But I first wanted to say a few things about the last interview.
Yeah.
They're in D.C. They're marching. Great point about Biden was in Obama's administration when he could have stopped Standing Rock.
And we
No
don't
DAPL.
know. I mean, Biden might have said, to him, you should stop it. I mean,
Yeah, well, he has
Biden wasn't the president at the time.
but he has an opportunity to stop it, which was
He
a great
sure
point.
does.
Two great points by that young warrior.
Absolutely.
And so it's great. The women and the children will lead the way, and so it's been was an awesome little interview we had there with Nancy Beaulieu. So
yeah,
hey,
I think the youth are great. And maybe now that Deb Haaland is in, that'll be another earplug into Biden's ear.
let's hope. Hey, all things are relatives, and what we do to everything we do to ourselves. All is one black elk. Hey, I want to introduce Wendy, my awesome wife and beautiful wife. She's been an animal advocate for many years, and she is a volunteer for
the Humane Society of the United States, and I am a humane policy volunteer leader.
And she works on animal issues at the state level.
And local.
And tell us your name and welcome, Wendy.
Thank you, Robert. My name is Hanajihihani, and that means cares for them, and I was given that name by my Dega, Curtis. So as always, Curtis, thank you. So today I just wanted to touch on something that's happening possibly in Illinois, which I'm really excited about. And you're going to be surprised to hear this, Robert. The humane pet store ordinances that we are getting passed here in Minnesota, St. Paul, Eden Prairie, Carver, and there's one more left. One more. I can't think of it. It'll come to me. But anyway, these cities have adopted a humane pet store ordinance.
What is that?
Which means that they are no longer allowed to sell, pet stores are no longer allowed to sell dogs and cats that are, originated from puppy mills. So they're not allowed to sell dogs and cats at the pet store, but they will be able to do adoption events and sell services and leashes and food and all that other stuff to make money. But here's the news that I have. Illinois seeks to ban sales of dogs and cats at pet stores statewide. Now, Illinois Republican Representative Andrew Chesney, he's from the 89th District, is responsible for a bill in the House, HB 1711, to ban sales of dogs and cats at pet retail stores. Representative Chesney offers his personal puppy story regarding what made him aware of this issue in the first place. The puppy store business regarding how they treat animals shocked him, he said. Republicans, Democrats, and independents should be together on this issue, he adds. Quote, their current business model is dependent on taking advantage of customers and hurting animals, and this needs to change. If you ask a pet store selling dogs, where is that dog from? Try to get a straight answer. When a Chicago Tribune investigator report managed to learn where Chicago pet stores were getting dogs, tracking wasn't easy because there are secret brokers, but ultimate sources proved to be out of state of Illinois puppy mills. Supporting pet store sales of dogs and cats supports puppy mills. So I'm really excited about this Republican representative from Illinois, and he's going to shut down the Chicago pet stores that are selling these dogs and cats who originate from these puppy mills. And we all know, and I've said this over and over again, and everybody who listens to our show already knows that we have Gracie, our dog, who was a female breeder dog in a puppy mill. So for 7 years, she stayed in a cage, and she had no human contact. The guy came around every week and filled up her automatic water bowl and her food dish, and that was her human contact. She had no veterinarian care, and she had 2 litters a year. She was bred twice a year for 7 years, so she probably had about 14 litters, and her puppies were sold in pet stores all over the United States. They were shipped. Maybe some of them were shipped to Chicago. We don't know, right?
Right.
But I'm really happy that Representative Republican Andrew Chesney of the 89th District has this bill. So if you live in Chicago, if you live in Illinois, you should contact Andrew Chesney. He's in the 89th District, and let him know that you support him and thank him for doing this. This is a really awesome thing.
Oh, it's huge, and people, have to expand their thought process. But people know that their dogs and cats are part of their family. They're natives. They're not pets. They're a part of the family.
Part of the family.
And that's what you bring too. Is that these sacred animals are a part of us, and their souls. You can look into their eyes, and it's great news. A couple reasons. We're in Chicago with the Best of Native Roots Radio, and that's the 3rd largest market. So that's a lot of people that's going to affect, Wendy.
Absolutely. And he goes on to say, Representative Chesney says, being a Republican, he's all for free choice for businesses, but not when those businesses are treating animals inhumanely. So again,
good to hear.
It is really good to hear. And it is a bipartisan
it should be.
issue, whether you're, like you said, Democrat, Independent, or Republican. This is a bipartisan issue. If you care about animals and their welfare, I don't think anybody wants to see a dog in a cage just staying there year after year after year with no human contact, no kind words, never being held, never out for a walk.
Never walked on leaves.
Never walked on leaves. Never walked on grass.
Because when we had our poor Gracie, she didn't know what they were.
The first fall we were walking outside, and there were a bunch of leaves on the ground, and she didn't know what they were, so she just stopped dead in her tracks. And she did that a lot of times when we first got her, and we would say, "Uh-oh, Gracie's frozen. What's scaring her?" And we try to figure it out, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, she's never seen leaves before. She's afraid to walk on them." So there was a small pile. So instead of walking through them, she jumped over them, and it was the cutest thing that we've ever seen. But
it's heart-wrenching to know what they've gone through, but it's also really heartfelt that we do have allies, and we do have people that do believe in the same way that we all, that a lot of us feel.
Absolutely.
It's heart-wrenching.
So if you live in the area, get in touch with Chesney and let him know that you appreciate him working on this and putting this bill together and getting this passed. and we'll hear more about it, and I'll bring you an update hopefully soon.
Hey, I just wanted to mention this, Wendy, is that we have somebody in Florida listening, Victoria, and that she believes in fry bread power. I just wanted to
So
shoot
very
that out
quickly,
there.
anybody watching us online, Robert and I have Fry Bread Power T-shirts on. If you ever watched Smoke Signals, Thomas wears the T-shirt in the movie.
Thomas builds a fire.
I actually think it's the ugliest T-shirt ever that I've ever seen. But anyway, they're kind of fun.
Really? How do you feel about that? Hey, I would like to end with these thoughts. If you're listening to this show, you are the resistance. You know, and we're all on trial. From Chief Plentycoops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. I've been your host, Wakunjahade Robert Pilot. I want to thank Wendy Pilot, Nancy Beaulieu, and her guests that are young runners that are in Washington, D.C., Ogama for the news, the much-needed news all across Turtle Island. And if you're listening to the show, you are the resistance. We're still here. We are the seventh generation.
Stop line 3.
Free Leonard Peltier.
Believe it or not, it's time for spring cleaning. You're not the only one who's tired of winter this year. Your carpets are too. Think about the dust and